Hi guys, this is Daphne from LuminAID. I'm here with Steve from Threadies, one of our nonprofit partners. Steve is going to share with us a little bit of information about the Syrian refugee crisis, as well as the work that Threadies is doing. Steve, can you give us a little bit of background on Threadies and how that came to be?
Sure, yeah. My name's Steve, and I'm the co-founder of Threadies, a project that I've been working on with my college roommate, Andrew, for about 5 years. Threadies came up as an idea during the massive earthquake in Port-au-Prince, Haiti that would have been almost 10 years ago, as a response for an under-focused area for kids who have been displaced, which is psychological trauma. And when folks think about responding to a natural disaster, you've got water and sanitation, food, shelter, those sorts of things that come to mind. Psychological trauma is a critical thing, and we wanted to create a solution to help kids cope with trauma that could be scaled to all sorts of children in different contexts.
And so what does the Threadies solution look like?
Yeah, Threadies is based on a teddy bear, which is built particularly for the refugee context, and that bear was designed and is manufactured by refugees in the Middle East. And it comes with a broader coping kit, which was designed by researchers at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And in that coping kit are a number of different tools that help kids do all these research-based coping strategies, imaginative visualization, belly breathing, those sorts of things. And they center on the bear, and they help families and particular kids practice coping, whether they're on the move, in a refugee camp, in an informal housing situation, whatever.
And why did you pick a bear? Why not something like a doll?
Yeah, bears are, strangely enough, teddy bears are a universal thing. That's something we researched right away. What would be the ideal thing? We've seen little smiley faces, dolls, all sorts, and people get teddy bears, no matter where you are.
And so when a child gets one of these coping kits, one of these bears, is that something that's just for the child alone, or how does that impact their parents or other people who are going to be able to help them with their trauma?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because the bear is meant to bring a whole family in around concepts surrounding psychological trauma. So the bear comes to the kid, and the reason we all love teddy bears is because they can essentially journey with us wherever we go in our inner life and our outer life. And so the bear becomes a partner with an individual child, but with that bear come these coping strategies, which come as little pictograms, because most kids can't read, and actually a lot of adults can't read in refugee situations. And then on the back, they're translated. And parents see those, and they see the kids practicing, and almost in all situations, you'll see either the mother or an older sister say, I didn't realize, or I had just forgotten how important it is to think about the emotional well-being of this kid in my care. And then they become an active partner in that child's therapy.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit more about what life is like for a child who may be a refugee, and how long being a refugee might actually be?
Right. So if you are not living where you want to live and where you're from, then you're a refugee. So that could be a lifelong situation for many people. Life and it looks very different depending on what kind of refugee you are. So Threadies has been really active around the Syrian refugee crisis. There's about 11 million people that are either displaced internally in Syria or in surrounding countries. Of the 5.5 million that are refugees outside of Syria, most of them live around the borders of Syria. And then some of them live in apartments, but they're usually totally undecorated, or many of them are living in garages, tents, refugee camps. If you're in a refugee camp, the average time that you'd spend there is 15 years. So you go from being a child to being an adult. Your entire childhood happens in this refugee camp. Just imagine that. And it can be very dark. It can be very dark in just your internal life, but then also in the places where you're living. Living in a garage, living in a tent, wherever it may be.
Yeah, and so one of the use cases that LuminAID was developed for was for people who are displaced. And we're seeing these used in refugee camps, both for source of light as well as portable power, so families can charge their phones. what is the need for light in, let's say, a refugee camp, and what can a portable light allow a family to do?
Yeah. So portable lights can be used, of course, the same way we would use them if we were going on a camping trip when you're on the move. In an informal setting, you need it to be able to stay safe from animals around you, to be able to not stumble over something. Things that we might not consider here in the US or in more developed context is that light can be critical in preventing gender-based violence. So that's something really to think about, and it's also really important for education. Kids doing homework, especially girls doing homework, educational attainment requires light to be present where you are.
Do you have any stories about how you've seen LuminAIDs being used?
Yeah. So I think about one story that sticks out. I was in not a refugee camp, but in a village that has, in a small city really, that has a lot of refugees called Rehanla. It's on the border of Syria near Aleppo. And I went into a home, and every home you go into with Syrian refugees, you're just brought into a very hospitable environment. You serve tea, you sit on mats, very hospitable, but in this case, it was an austere, really dirty, and there was really nothing in this room except for the elements of hospitality, lots of children, and a LuminAID light. And so you can see how a light is central to the functioning of this family, gathering around, being able to actually support one another, to do homework, and to be safe in a space. And I won't forget one of the kids who was there, who was still experiencing the trauma of being held with his mother as a captive for 6 months by ISIS in a dark cell, really, with no light at all. And so to him, the LuminAID light was bringing literal light into his life that could dispel the more figurative inner darkness that he was feeling. And that's where there was really a really nice synergy between LuminAID and Threadies.
That's really great.
Yeah.
In addition to Freddys, which you should check out at Threadies.com, what are some other organizations that are supporting refugees that you would recommend that viewers get involved with?
Yeah, so this story that I mentioned in Rehanla was, so I was in Rehanla as a partner with Karam Foundation, which is based here in Chicago, run by Lena, who is a fantastic advocate for Syrian refugees. You've got to see what they're doing. Karam, Karam.
We'll post them in the comments for people who are watching.
Yeah, check out what they're doing. For people who want to get engaged with refugees, there are so many ways to do that here in Chicago. The biggest thing you can do, whenever I'm asked, how do I help a refugee, I say, invite one over for dinner and get to know them, play with their children, and form a relationship with them. Being a refugee means being displaced and being other. How can you prevent that, or how can you assuage that? Invite somebody to your table to sit and eat and be part of your life. And there's 2 organizations here in Chicago, Refugee One and World Relief, that can convene those types of things and can put you in contact with refugees, whether you want to invite someone into your home and bless them in that way, or help teach them a language or help them with school, navigate the United States. Great organizations to be working with.
That's awesome. And how can people support Threadies?
Yeah, so Threadies, we use a 1-for-1 model. So you can go to Threadies.com, and if you buy a Thready, it comes with a sibling bear that goes to a faraway country. And so the bear that you buy, and which you can give to a kid in your life, has this partner, and it connects the kid in your life with a kid far away who's in need of the love of a Thready bear. $35 on Threadies.com, and that provides that one-to-one connection.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve. It's
Thanks.
been really awesome to have you. And for those of you who are watching, definitely check out LuminAID.com/GiveLight. That's how you can support our programs to provide light to charitable partners just like Threadies that are making an impact. Feel free to ask more questions in the comments. We'll see if we can get back to you via Facebook. And thanks again for tuning in.
Thanks.